Attention on this channel. We've got an important message. All observations and opinions shared here are for educational purposes only. This content is intended for adults. Viewer discretion is advised. Be advised that any individuals mentioned are not intended to suggest involvement in any crime.
Case by case, got the fire. Ha!
Come on,
Yo, you wanna talk about true crime? We start with the data flows. Digital footprints meet criminal defense, that's how the story goes. This channel's all about online evidence, the stuff they overlook. From live stream chats to deleted posts, it's all in the true crime book. My goal is to provide insight for the attorney in the darkest hour, to find the proof that can make a case or break a criminal's power. So whether you're a lawyer or a PI, we're diving deep in the mess, exposing misconduct and hidden truths to get to the very best leads. We break it down case by case on the trail of the facts. We show how digital evidence changes case outcomes. We on their tracks. No rumors, no gossip, just the evidence clear and concise. Shining a light on the shadows at any cost or price. What do we do?
case by case.
What's the motto? We're here for the victims, the ones who were left behind. We're here for the families, giving them peace of mind. We follow the paper trail, the digital footprints and the timelines. Connecting the dots, we're reading between the lines. We don't just talk theory, we show you how it works in practice. We're here to help you stay ahead of the curve, to get a new analysis. You think you're in charge, but we're here to find what matters most. We're giving a voice to the voiceless, like a digital ghost. Digital ghost, digital ghost. We break it down case by case on the trail of the facts. We show how digital evidence changes case outcomes. We on their tracks. No rumors, no gossip, just the evidence clear and concise. Shining a light on the shadows at any cost or price. What do we do?
Case by case.
What's the motto? From Digital Clues. The mystery, you wanna know the answers? We're dedicated to the chase. From the first look at the scene to the final resting place. We're here to find the answers, to give the victims their due. A true crime channel with a heart and a purpose too. We're here to build up, to expose the truth, and to shine a light on the darkest of deeds with all our might. We're here for the truth, we're here for the facts, and that's it. We don't chase the trends, we just chase the truth and never quit. We let the past speak for itself, we let the facts lay the ground. We're just here to be a voice, a tribute that is sound. Yeah, it's all for the truth. All for the truth.
Ha! Come on, come on. Let's go.
Their thoughts for you, yeah. Won't kiss the ring. Yeah. Ha. Come on. Let's go.
This is Down the Hill, the Delphi murders.
The Delphi Fire Department is all volunteers, headed by Chief Daryl Sterrett. He's a rugged man with a strong handshake. And in February of 2017, they were raising money for a brand new firehouse. Chief Sterrett was in a meeting about that when his phone lit up.
I got a text message from my deputy chief and said that they had 2 missing girls and they were wanting to know if we could help search the area. So I deployed people and trucks to different areas. We didn't know where to look in the initial. They were just
out there.
In that evening, easily we could have had 100 people searching. And then as you knock on this neighbor's door and say, hey, well, then they join the search. And so the entire town was searching in their own way. That's part of being in a small town. Everybody knows everybody, and if you don't know them, you know of them, and everybody wants to help. So we looked, and we looked, and we walked. We were focused on the bridge area and we had people on four-wheelers, we had farmers in the area. The community was looking. We searched till maybe 11:30, 12 o'clock. And I had met up with the sheriff and discussed with him and Chief Mullins. I said, look, we have blanketed, this area. I honestly feel like we could probably check it off. And he said, well, yeah, I agree, and at some point you have to do that. Got a call from Tippecanoe County, offered up a mobile operations center. We brought it in and set it out at the bridge area so that we could more readily coordinate people in that area. And we covered everything that we had covered the night before, but we covered it in the daylight and we covered it with twice as many people.
The search at that point had not been fruitful. The other thing was limited at that time period, limited resources. And when I say basically additional lighting is one thing that came to mind that we didn't have access to, at least again at those hours. And so I would, as I recall, I think a lot of it boiled down to availability of resources and being able to continue on.
We were at High Bridge. We had walked High Bridge and we had walked under High Bridge. I had guys climb down to the top of the pillars of High Bridge. I had guys doing things that they should not have been doing, but we were going to find something. We had scoured the banks of the creek. Rides away, you get to a point, that you've walked over it 2 and 3 and 4 times in that area. You kind of feel like you have to put a check mark on it. So we had come to that point, and it's like I said, it was a tough thing to do, but as a volunteer department, you also have to look out for the individuals that you command because they have jobs, they have livelihoods. That's the tough part of it, because as the chief, you have to be able to look out for them at some point. And they would stay out there until sunup if you told them that's what you were doing. But at some point, you have to be realistic. We have turned every rock we could think of in this area. And that time of year, the ground cover, it isn't now where you've got weeds 4 foot tall. You could see a good ways even in the dark. And we have lights like no others. So we came to that point that we need to check this spot off and then look at maybe coming back fresh in the morning. Let's see what happens.
When did you become aware of the Snapchat photos?
It was that evening. I think Kelsey's the one that showed me, because I didn't have Snapchat, because she had gone on to work and then we had to call her back. And so I think she saw it. And she said, well, I do know this. So we had seen it while we were at the police station. It was that night.
What did you think of those 2 images, the image of the bridge and the image of Abby on the bridge?
Well, at the time, the only one I saw was the one of Abby on the bridge. So I didn't. I mean, I saw it, so we knew that they were at least on the bridge and, over. So I don't remember what I thought. I just know that, okay, they were there. We need to be searching from there.
Why is this not working? Hello, everybody. Hi. Welcome to Case by Case. This is the Vault, episode 29. We have a great show for you in store. Fungi will not be joining today. I know that we were planning to do her presentation. She is under the weather, so she's getting a free pass. But she's been working with us behind the scenes all week long, going into today's episode. I do have with me today Mr. Quester, and we have a boatload of things to go over with you. And the reason that we played that video is to kind of give you some in-depth background on, information that was produced early on about the search and where the girls were located and how they weren't found early on. So if you haven't hit that like or subscribe, please do so right now. It helps the channel grow, and it's free. That's all you got to do is like and subscribe. Let me bring Quester on, and we have a lot to talk about today. Again, it's going to be in depth. We're going to provide you with historical screenshots that probably some of you, I'm sure, haven't even seen before. And then we're going to talk about the crime scene. We're going to talk about the route Kelsey took to get to the Mears lot and why it doesn't make sense, the GPS, and probably a lot of other things that we weren't intending on getting into, but we'll probably end up going down a rabbit hole. So that's all fine. Hello, Quester.
Hi, Amy. Hi, everyone.
So I think I just kind of broke it all down pretty quickly. We're already getting questions in the chat. Why did Becky say we knew they were on the bridge ever? Why would she know they were over the bridge? Well, she was talking about, she saw Abby's Snapchat photo, but she didn't seem to say that she saw the empty bridge photo that Libby took, which is interesting because the bridge photo that Libby took came before Abby's Snapchat photo. We're going to get into all of that because there's a lot, and we're trying to make it make sense. I just want to kind of give a quick disclosure before we go any further. You know, everything that we talk about on this channel is speculation. It's research that is open-ended. No, you know, you can take what we say and you can research it yourself. And if you come up with alternative means or alternative information, you can email it to me and we will cipher it and pull it into one of our lives. We're not going to be argumentative. There's going to be things that we agree with, and there's going to be things that we don't agree with. That's just human nature. That's how it is. And there are some things here where we are, what's the word I'm looking for? There are some things here where we are firm on when it comes to this case. And there are still areas that are in the gray that we are still trying to solidify true answers, factual answers. And it's not always that easy, especially when you're dealing with a case that's this old. Belly May Day says she's driving but listening. Howdy, y'all. Thank you. Be safe. Make sure you have your seatbelt on. Streets. Girl, I miss you so much. Street says the tiny old farmhouse across from the Patty's driveway was empty in 2017, and Becky complained someone was sitting in the driveway watching their house a month before the murder. Well, if you have proof of that, I would love to see it. We are down to the wire with this case when it comes to, I know that on this channel, we go through a lot of screenshots. And I am a firm believer that in the first year of the girls being kidnapped, taken, and unalived, I am a firm believer that the information that was made public during that first 12 months is the most important because it's probably the most accurate. And we go through a lot of screenshots and information here, but at the same time, we're trying to provide information that will hold up in a court of law, information that is verifiable. Ugh, that's a big word. Verifiable, and that we can go back and prove is true or not true. So there's a lot that goes into that when you're dealing with the case with this magnitude. So Streets, if you have screenshots of that on Facebook, I know that there's at least 2 groups that existed back then when this case first started that has been completely wiped out. We've been grateful enough for those who were in those groups who screenshotted things that were able to preserve them and share them. But at the same time, a screenshot doesn't mean that it's factual. So I will take anything that any of you want to send to me, and we will we will categorize it in a way, whether it's, a screenshot with validity or a screenshot of information. There's just different ways that this information can be processed and be helpful or just not usable. So I just played a video for you of the firemen in charge discussing how hey, Michelle. Hi, Michelle. I just played for you a video of an in-depth interview from a fireman who basically details the search and how the area around the Monon High Bridge was completely and thoroughly searched to the point where they should mark it off as being done, covered multiple times, and they need to expand the search. I'm telling you right now that the crime scene is right there next to the water. And if there were that many of searchers out there, they would have found the girls. There's no doubt in my mind. There's no way they couldn't have found the girls. So I am going to let Quester be my guide and tell me where we want to go first today, because we have a lot. Where do we go first?
Oh dear, where to? So many different directions. Shall we start with the car journey?
Sure. Okay. So all of you know that while I was in Delphi, we did several run-throughs of the car ride from the Patty's house, like literally at their driveway, passing their driveway, and heading to the Mears lot. So let me pull this up, and we're going to talk about this. And the reason that we're talking about this is because we have so there is, let me explain it the right way. So leaving the Patties, Kelsey had pretty much a straight, clean drive halfway to the Mears lot. The second half are corners and curves, and the road narrows. And in my opinion, driving it, and I have the video of us driving it with the camera facing the road, where you have to sit back and go, okay, this is, you've got to gauge your speed because the roads are curvy, windy, and you got to cut corners. So the interesting thing about this is that we have precise GPS information from the time the girls with Kelsey left the Patty's house through the first half of the journey. It's the second half of the journey that's in question because the GPS information seems to be unavailable. And the next thing we know, the girls miraculously appear on the trails at 151. And what we're going to attempt to show you is how that's not really possible. And we don't say that lightheartedly, but in this case, with every section, the closer you get to the kidnapping and the crime and the hours preceding it, why do we have such misinformation, combobulated information that we don't have real answers to? But everything before that, everything lines up. So that's what we're going to discuss today. So we're going to start here with Kelsey's initial drive. Leaving the Patties, which is up here. If you look at the very top of the middle of the screen where it says 140, that line that drops back, that is the Patties residence. Kelsey pulls out. She turns right at 140. This is not speculation. This is from the phone data. This is from the extraction. Let me take myself off camera here. So this information is accurate, which is why we can't make speed adjustments to this part of the route, because we have the timestamp, which we are able to gauge how fast she was driving to make it to each point. Quester, do you want to comment on that, about her speed and how fast she was going on this first leg of her route?
Yes, certainly. Although we're saying it's an average of 55 miles an hour, the operative word there is average. There's a lot of slowing down, stopping for corners and so on and so forth. So you have to take that into account. But anyway, these roads are wide enough that you could get quite a lick on. So 55 miles an hour, I'd say, was easily doable, wouldn't you, Amy?
Yes, this route, this first half of the route, and we drove it. I don't know if anybody wants me to play that video, but I have it. You could actually increase your speed because these are all straight shot roads. There's no curves, there's no obstructions, there's no curvature. We could have easily accelerated to about 55 miles per hour. I believe when we traveled these roads, we actually only did about 45, and that seemed to be, pretty fast enough. So we know where the girls were based on the GPS of Libby's phone, based on the Snapchat social media interaction. It all lines up. On this map, everything lines up perfectly. Everything lines up perfectly. The time, the speed, the direction, the social media events all line up. But the last GPS, go ahead.
The only thing that doesn't line up there, Amy, is the route, isn't it?
Yes.
Gone the long way round. If they'd have turned left when they came out the drive, that would have saved them a lot of time, wouldn't it?
It would. The why they took this route is we don't have an answer to, because it simply seems like this was the long way around. They could have went left on 500 North and got to the Monon High Bridge a lot quicker, but they didn't. We don't know why. We can speculate. Was it going by Snowburger's property like we talked about last week? We don't know, but they went the long way around. Then we get to the second half of Kelsey's drive. And as you can see here, right in the middle of the screen, all the curvatures in the road and the short distances that require you to veer or turn. And this second half of Kelsey's drive, we are missing all of the GPS. But we know Libby's phone was active. She was on again, off again, social media. Her phone was plugged in, charging. And this distance is approximately the same amount when you add it all up. It's approximately the same distance to get from the second half of the journey to the Mears lot as it was to leave the Patties on this first route leg of the journey. So why all of a sudden are we missing GPS information? Why all of a sudden do we not have timestamps of the interactions on the phone that were happening? And this whole leg of this second part of the journey is missing. And then the girls appear on the trails. So Quester has reviewed my videos of the drive. And he says, Amy drove this route and it took her 7 minutes to do the second part of the route. And my speed was about 45 miles per hour. Which, if you take the speed and the timestamps of the original first half of the route, and then you add it to the second half of the route, the earliest that Kelsey should have arrived at Mears Lot should have been 1:51. However, 1:51 is the GPS coordinates that we have of Abby and Libby already on the trail, almost 4 minutes in, walking from 300 North up the Mears Drive, turning left at the intersection, and halfway to Monon High Bridge. And they're there for already, we know this from the GPS of the phone, whatever phone is being tracked, they're there for almost 13 minutes. Or is it 14 minutes? It might even be longer than 13 minutes, Quester. Am I wrong?
14.
14.
Yeah.
So let's look at the chat. Scorpio says, is it possible it's as simple as turning the wrong direction at the end of the drive and just going with it? I know I've done stuff like that. I mean, that could very well be, but it doesn't change the GPS and the timestamps of the GPS. The route is the route, regardless of whether it was the wisest route or not. The route is the route. The problem is we have the GPS for the first part of the route. So we can't say, okay, well, if she was driving at this speed, it would have gotten her here, because we have the GPS and we have the timestamps, which put her at driving at approximately 55 miles per hour. That's still fast, but it's not extremely fast on those straightaways. It's the second half of the drive where the GPS goes missing and we have no accurate information on her arrival at Mears, her sitting idle on 300 North, like she testified at trial, that she didn't even pull into the Mears lot. She pulled up alongside of it, still facing the road, and let the girls out. Well, from that gate, from 300 North, walking up that gravel walkway to the intersection is approximately 30 seconds, depending on your pace. Then you turn left to go towards Monon High Bridge. 3 minutes puts you at about the halfway mark. So including the gravel walkway from 300 North and the gravel walkway up to the intersection, you add 30 seconds. So 3.5 minutes is the time that it would have taken you to get to that spot. So I had Quester do it both ways, keeping the 55 mile an hour speed on the first part of the drive, because that's undisputable. We have the GPS and we have with the timestamps. for the first half of the drive. Why are we missing the second half? Why do they completely go, why does the extraction or the reports that we have go completely off grid with, because I mean they're driving closer to town. I mean, from where the Patties live. I mean, the Patties live out on 500 North, which is out in a much further, less populated area, and we have accurate GPS out there. Why wouldn't we have it driving in closer to the trails, closer to town, closer to the cell tower? All of a sudden, this information is missing. So on the second half of Kelsey's journey, I had Quester increase Kelsey's speed to 75 miles per hour, which would have meant she could have done the second part of the journey in 2.5 minutes, which would have had her arriving at the Mears lot at 1:46, which then we would have had to have given her 2 minutes to allow Abby and Libby to get out of the car, grab sweatshirts, and start walking up the gravel drive. Well, the problem with that is that at 1:47, Betsy Blair is pulling in. If you remember, Betsy Blair is passing the Hoosier Harvest Store camera coming back from the library at 1:46. It's a 30-second, 32, 33-second drive from the Hoosier Harvest Store camera to the Mears lot. Kelsey's car would have been blocking the entrance to the Mears lot if she was still sitting there. Okay, I'm going to chat.
If I recall, Kelsey, or the car that Ellie said was Kelsey's, we don't know for certain, went past the store cam at 13:48. Now that is a minute after Betsy Blair went past there. Therefore, they had to have met at the Mears area. Now, I can't see how you can miss a car parked across at the entrance that you want to drive in, or
Right.
come to that missing a car coming out.
Right.
And I doubt that you'd miss seeing a car coming bounding along towards you at 75 miles an hour. You'd be lucky if that car missed you.
Mm-hmm. And then you have to, based on this second half of her journey, even going 75 miles an hour. She would have arrived at 1:46. So what were the girls doing from 1:46 to 1:51? That's over 5 minutes. Which
Well, the other thing in the phone data is it shows that the phone was unplugged at 1:48.
So if Kelsey was going 75 miles an hour on the second half of this route, she pulled up and then they sat there in the car for 2 minutes. If Libby didn't unplug her phone for another 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people are thinking that, okay, this is a little bit much, but it is a serious matter when we're talking about who saw who on the trails and when. And when we have a Snapchat photo, Libby's photo supposedly of Abby completely missing. I mean, the door is open to speculate on what the hell was going on. During the second half of this journey, how the girls' GPS put them on the trail at 151, if Kelsey would have maintained the same speed throughout the entire journey. We have the GPS of all of the locations, all of the correct turns, all of the Snapchat, social media events occurring on the phone until we get to 144. And then shit gets bizarre. And in order for Kelsey to get to Mears Lot and be seen on the Hoosier Harvest Store camera, she would have had to have accelerated almost twice the speed on the second half of this journey on roads that are dangerously not roads that you would travel at that high rate of speed.
The other thing is, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
The other thing is, Kelsey told reporters that Libby was taking photographs in the car all the way. And we know that we've seen the photographs up to just past the 450 West. But then, as you say, absolutely everything after is missing. Are we to assume that suddenly she decided no more photographs till we get on the trail? Or are they lost?
She could have, but
She could have.
she could have, but I mean, even when she unplugged her phone, we should have had some sort of a GPS registration there at that point, and we don't. Other than the fact that we know what time she unplugged it, but there's no GPS associated with that event. The next event is 151, and the girls are midway on the trail.
And those 151 in themselves raise questions as well, don't they?
They do. So we have Kelsey's white car on the Hoosier Harvest Store camera at 148. Well, law enforcement says it was Kelsey German's car. But we're not going to dispute that it was a white car, but we can dispute that it was the car that Kelsey was driving, because if you followed the trial and you followed all of the different commentary of those who sat in on the trial, every single person who sat in on the trial stated that when Kelsey was on the stand, she said she was driving a Mazda. When Becky Patty took the stand, she claimed Kelsey was driving a Bonneville. When the transcripts came out, both people, Kelsey and Becky Patty, in the transcripts stated that it was a Bonneville, as if the court reporter made a decision to eliminate that error in the testimony and make it line up by proclaiming that both people said a Bonneville. No one's arguing the color, but why would Kelsey testify that she was driving a Mazda and Pat and Becky claimed that she was driving a Bonneville, and everyone reported it? And then when the transcripts came out, it was not what everyone reported hearing. Ask me again why they don't want to release the trial audio. It's shit like that is why they don't want to release it. So, Quester, can you explain this map that we're looking at right here? When you say arrived at the earliest of 146.
Right. That is what I worked out the earliest that they could have got to the Mears lot, 1:46.
Is that with driving 75 miles an hour on the second half of the route?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's tearing there to get there. Yeah. Now, had they jumped out and immediately started walking, not bothering to do all this about the sweat coats, all that sort of stuff, they could have made that first GPS position 1:51 fairly easily. It's 5 minutes. The second GPS is just past 1:51, give or take a few seconds. So you could say, well, with the 5 meter differential, that's still okay. They could have been walking. However, the third GPS holds them in exactly the same point to the button at 14:05, 5 minutes past 2. And the only explanation for that is they are staying in the same position. There's no other explanation. Even if you allow for the 5 minutes, the 5 meter leeway, that's only, what, 16 feet? If they were in the same place, why? They rushed to it, scooted round, got to a position and stopped for 14 minutes. And nobody has mentioned that they did that. Now, when you also bear in mind that that means for 14 minutes they were standing there, they're supposed to have got there before Betsy Blair. Yet when she walked to the bridge, she didn't see anybody. She only saw 2 girls on the way back. That was pretty good going. What do you think, Amy?
No, I mean that means that it's more than likely if you're well, and here's the problem with Betsy Blair. We know what we know, and it's not a matter of questioning her credibility. It's a matter of questioning her memory or her timing. And I know what they tell us the Fitbit information says, but the Fitbit information that we have is a graph. It's not actually digital Fitbit information. They provided a graph, which is fine. But we know that Betsy Blair is in her 60s. She's an older woman, and she doesn't describe her running the trails, jogging or fast-paced walking. She's walking at a normal pace. And she describes arriving at the trail and there not being any cars there. Based on the route that I have recorded, going to the library and coming back, we have her pulling in to the Mears lot at 1:47, which actually aligns up perfectly with her statement. When she gets out of the car, she walks down the gravel drive, she turns left, and she goes towards the Monon High Bridge. It takes approximately 7 minutes from the Mears lot to get to the Monon High Bridge. It can be 7.5, it can be 8, depending on how slow or how fast you're walking. She describes the younger man on the first platform. She turns around and she's walking back. This tells me that she arrived before Kelsey dropped off the girls, which means
it works out. She should have seen the young guy at 13:53.
Correct. But that doesn't jive with Kelsey's second half of the drive. if Kelsey maintained the normal speed that she had on the first leg of this drive, she would not have been able to arrive at the Mears lot until 1:51. Yet at 1:51, the girls are already GPS identified as being halfway on the trail, which would have then required Kelsey to go at least 75 miles an hour on the second part of the trail, which would have put her blocking the Mears entrance when Betsy Blair arrived. That's the conundrum.
Betsy should have seen the car blocking her drive and two girls getting out.
Getting out, and the girls would have been following right behind Betsy Blair or vice versa. If the girls hopped out and Kelsey moved on, then Betsy Blair pulled in. That would have put Abby and Libby in front of Betsy Blair. Or if Betsy Blair was able to maneuver around Kelsey's car and pull in and park, that would have put Abby and Libby directly behind. Either way, it's a problem. And it ends up being more of a problem when you walk the route that Betsy Blair stated she walked. Because at 2:15, based on our timed walkthroughs, Betsy Blair is still walking on the trail at 2:15 when her vehicle, based on the state's exhibit, has her leaving the trails entirely, passing the Hoosier Harvest Store camera at 2:18. She hadn't even made it to the Mears lot by 2:18. She's still walking on the trail. So either she shortened her routes or her timing is off. And because we don't have the actual extraction from her Fitbit, we just have a graph, and where that graph came from, I don't know. But it doesn't line up with her version of the route that she walked that day. And all of it lines up with the fact that, if you believe, it's almost like bookends with the state's story. The first bookend is Rick Allen is the man standing on the platform. We can believe that, according to the state. It could be nobody else. But then later in the trial, Dr. Wallace's testimony is put on, and she claims that Rick told her he sat on the bench, watched Abby and Libby approach the intersection and turn and go towards the Monon High Bridge, and he followed them. Well, if he's following them and Betsy Blair is passing them on her way back after seeing the man on the first platform, how is it Rick Allen in both places?
Talking of Rick Allen, there is another little twist. If you were to decide that the store camera is about 10 minutes wrong, that will correct some little inconsistencies. Not all of them, but some. However, that would also mean it's 10 minutes wrong on the supposed Rick Allen car. Pushing that car going past at 1:37, which would destroy the whole state case again, wouldn't it?
It would. And
so they're caught between the devil and deep blue sea.
And then you have to remind all of the viewers that, you know, the drop mic moment that never happened in the trial was Baldwin or Rosie asking those that were testifying about the Hoosier Harvest Store camera footage, where is the proof that we don't know who was driving that black car. that was seen on the Hoosier Harvest Store camera. But where is the proof that that vehicle actually turned in to that abandoned CPS building and parked? We have no proof of that. We have nobody identifying a Ford Focus. We have someone identifying, and it's even in the brief in the direct appeal. We have two people identifying vehicles, neither one matching Rick Allen's. We have a purple PT Cruiser, and we have a 1965 description of a white or a light colored Comet. Well, ask me, chat, who drove a PT Cruiser?
Answers on a postcard beginning with KK.
It would be KK's grandmother and grandfather who owned a PT Cruiser.
And who drove a car that looked very much, incredibly like a Comet?
Shelby Hicks.
Someone a bit closer to Liberty.
What'd you say?
Patty. Mike Patty has an old vintage car that's a spitting image of a Comet.
Yep, he sure does. So all of these things here, the point of all of this is that hypothetically, I understand the appellate brief and the arguments that are raised. However, you don't even need a third-party suspect nexus to argue the state's timeline. You just have to dig into the timeline, which is what we've been doing. So next up, before we get into the other phone stuff, these are some screenshots that I pulled from my videos of being at the crime scene. This is me standing about 3 feet from the creek's edge with my back to the crime scene. This is not 2 stories. That would have registered on Libby's phone. This is about a 3-foot drop at the most. And remember, on February 13th of 2017, the water level was extremely high, between 3 to 4 feet. So the water would have been right over top of this creek's edge. So there would have been really no incline at all. Here in this image, these 2 trees right in the middle of the screen, the dark bark tree and the no bark tree is, I will call it Libby's tree. This is the double trunk tree that Libby was placed under, she was drugged underneath of with her arm upstretched to this tree. The green bar that you see in this photo is the creek's edge. That's how close it was. Same goes here. This far right, on the far right-hand side of this picture is the F tree. To the left of that would have been the double trunk tree that Libby was under. The F tree is right here. That green bar marks the edge of the creek line. That's how close it was. So, Quester, where do you want to go next? You're the man in charge. Yes, Betsy Blair said the car that she saw at the CPS building was not black. Quester, where do you want to go next? Do you want to go into Kelsey or do you want to go into the phone data?
We can go into Kelsey. Just a quickie though. In the comment, somebody asked what colour Mike's car was. Burgundy. I think I've got what make it is somewhere. No, I haven't. Not in front of me at the moment. Yeah, it's a burgundy.
So
Okay.
Keith, you're close. You said it was red. Yeah. So if you say burgundy, and for some reason, I have it embedded in my brain that the car was described as being a light colored car. Either way, the body structure does not match Rick Allen's 2016 Ford Focus. And in my opinion, if you're a killer, that's the first thing that you would get rid of is your car. And he did not. I mean, you would be getting back in that car covered with hair, DNA, blood, et cetera, and he didn't get rid of it.
He didn't get rid of it. You'd still be able to find traces of, call it the red DNA. You'd still find traces of it if somebody covered in blood jumped into it. You couldn't get it out of the seat for a start. It's absolutely insane to think that that car was used.
So the next part of this that we're going to get into, these are some flashback Facebook commentary that Quester dug out of his dusty files. When Kelsey was on Facebook under a anonymous, I guess you would call it. I mean, she didn't hide her identity and who she claimed to be. It was just an odd name. Kelsey was on Facebook as Gas Axe. And what I did this morning was I took these Facebook posts because they're so hard to read. If I suggest right now, everybody screenshot these so you can zoom in on your phone and read them later. But I have already transcribed them so you know what they say. But she's on Facebook and she's communicating about the situation. And next, go ahead and screenshot this one. And here's the next slides that I'm going to show are the transcriptions. So these were posted when this screenshot was taken. The post was 5 years old. And Kelsey is Gas Axe on Facebook at this time. She says the only details they gave to us that they didn't give the public were details that we can't use to identify a suspect. I don't know what the trail cam business was about, but you're right on the money with them seeking a gotcha scenario, at least that they say publicly and privately. Many of our family desire to get to the killer before the police do. And the police know this. So they absolutely don't name a suspect to us in private or give anything resembling a hint in the right direction. And I love that you are annoyed with the media as well, because I'm outright disgusted at it. But to be fair, I'm right there with everyone else. When I click on juicy news stories about horrible crimes, I never once thought about what I was participating in. Now that it's my family, I see how weird it is to watch the public make this a popcorn murder, as in a case they've entertained by, and how the news wants to report every little thing for as many views as possible. The reality of it was very sobering. Well, that's not so bad. Other than the fact that apparently she's proclaiming that her family was willing to be vigilantes and take matters in their own hand. But this one is disturbing. GasX states 5 years ago from the date of this screenshot, maybe she lied. My sister lied about her rape to me and tried to get me to potentially murder someone over it. Point being, that's why we have a justice system. It's the most fair, safe way to get justice. That statement by Kelsey brings me back to the image of the story that I posted on X that Kelsey wrote about being a underage rape victim of an adult male. And I believe I've read it on one of, haven't I read that, Quester?
Yeah, I've got a copy of it.
So was that letter that she wrote in school about herself, or was it about a story of her sister? Was she attempting to tell her sister's story in a first-person account?
It's not positive which way it was, but it's extremely suspicious. It's far too personal.
Far too personal.
Yeah.
And then when you line that up with the account from Anna Williams' boyfriend's aunt, the story that I told last week about the letter that Libby wrote to Abby claiming she might be pregnant and the father was Cody, is that the rape that's being discussed? And I know that we have for years gone back and forth over, it was a rumor that the girls, one of them was pregnant. Yeah, it's still all a rumor. But you've got two victims with seminal fluid that came out in their rape kit that doesn't have DNA. With seminal fluid with no DNA means there's a limited amount of reasoning as to why that would be present. And the main reason is it would be an older person shooting blanks or an older person who's had a vasectomy. Are we supposed to believe that both girls were sexually active with two separate males that were both shooting blanks? Or were the girls sexually assaulted after death to where there was no trauma to indicate a rape? I mean, everybody needs to go back to when I had Dr. Silkman on the channel discussing these variables. But none of this can be ruled out. And the fact that Kelsey is on Facebook stating that her sister lied about a rape. Why would Libby lie about a rape? Why would Kelsey write about a rape in a first person perspective as if it happened to her?
It's all very well saying that it's rubbish and it's no way that it's plausible. But, well, it could be plausible and it could not be. No, it's up to you what you want to think. All we have is this one by GasX saying about it. And unless we're going to call GasX a liar, we're sort of stuck with it.
Well, Carly Evans says it either happened the night before or during the abduction. Okay, well, if it happened the night before, that means that both girls had sex with the same person?
and then wandered around without cleaning up afterwards.
I mean, you're talking about millions of dollars being, money spent on this case. You've got Nick McClelland going before the city council begging for more money. I mean, the sky was the limit on what he was capable of doing. And it seems the only thing that he was capable of doing was hiding the truth. The Indiana State Lab could have sent every single DNA sample on to a more advanced lab to get answers. They could have asked for MVAC. MVAC would have been a complete scan of all of the physical items at the crime scene, especially the swabs of the victims and the clothing. And we wouldn't have had to have relied on snippets of jeans, the belt buckle, the butt. When I say belt buckle, I'm talking about the zipper, the button on the pants, the shoes. It would have scanned the entire crime scene and provided answers. Nobody chose to do that. Why? If they are so award-winning, hell-bent on their right, why not? If Rick Allen is the man, why not? Let's just put him 6 feet under with DNA. We couldn't even get the hair on Libby's hand tested until the trial started. I mean, what the flip?
Redacted has said a couple of things in the conversation. It was Kelsey's blog. Thanks for confirming that, Redacted. It also said that Kelsey kicked Cody out of the house. Yeah, I've got that. It was Becky that actually kicked her out, but at Kelsey's instigation, just a few days after this crime, and they moved in a couple of houses away from Rick Allen.
Rick Allen has not had a vasectomy. I know that's personal, but in this neck of the woods, it's another check mark in the box of he didn't do it. He didn't have a vasectomy. And I highly doubt Cody had a vasectomy, because after the Delphi murders, Cody went on and had kids.
As Redacted says, MP is, I've got no record of him having any.
But yes, I know, and I can't, nothing that I can say is I can declare 100% fact. All of you know that Julie Melvin's sister is Cody Patty's mother. And all of this information coming through that family tree to Julie is not, it's more accurate than any information that any of us will ever have. And there was a real high level amount of turmoil in the Patty home between Kelsey and Libby and Cody. And after the murders, it was even more so. Kelsey wanted Cody out of the house. I'm not making any unrealistic accusations. I'm just putting all the cards on the table for everyone to look at and take the information that you have and apply it. I know when I first went public covering this case, and I said it from the Vault episode number 1, going into that episode, I never wanted to believe the family was involved in a cover-up, and I never wanted to think that Kelsey knew more than what she was saying. Where I'm at today, I can't prove that Kelsey was involved, but what I will say emphatically is that Kelsey German is a compulsive liar. She, and maybe in her mind, she's not lying. She's ad-libbing to her story. But she should know by now that in a case like this, with what spotlight she's been put under from day one, she can't do that. She needed to stick to the same story. We can't have her telling people like Gray Hughes that Libby sent her a photo with a man walking behind them. She can't go and do an interview where she's claiming when she dropped the girls off, she saw 20 to 30 people that she knew on the trails. She can't do that without being questioned. When we're talking about minute by minute dissection of the girls' movements in this case, to me, she's a compulsive liar. And that's a problem. When I don't want to point the finger, I want to believe that she is a loving sister and that she would do anything to protect Libby. But when you hear things like she had access to Libby's accounts and she was able to go in and delete information, or she was catfishing her own sister to be cruel, that leaves the door open to speculate what the fuck is going on. Exactly.
They excluded the DNA, the seminal DNA, by saying, "Oh well, that could have got there in the washing machine," because they shared a washing machine with males in the family.
Well, what about females in the family? I mean, why do we only have male DNA on the most private, intimate parts of both girls?
I presume that's where washing machines like to put it.
And when have you ever, in any other criminal case that involved DNA, have you ever heard of such bullshit that there's unknown male DNA because of a washing machine? Well, why is it unknown? It either belonged to Derek, Mike, Patty, or Cody. Why is it unidentified?
Should be a simple test to find out which one of them's firing blanks, shouldn't it?
Right. And it doesn't, and the shooting, the seminal fluid doesn't necessarily mean that it's someone within the family. What it proves is that they were violated more than likely after death, because there are no defensive wounds. I mean,
certainly after going through the creek, well, it wouldn't still be there, would it?
Do what now?
Did they supposed to have gone through the creek? Surely that would have washed it off.
Well, that would have washed it off. And why don't we have any crime scene technician claiming that the girls were soaking wet? Because the clothes and that freezing cold temperature overnight is not going to dry. Radar says, Amy, I did interviews here and there with any locals that were willing. In one interview I did, I was told that whoever did this to those girls better hope the cops find them first, because family has a hit on the guy or guys. Well, you have to be a special kind of family if you're capable of perpetrating a hit on someone.
You've got to know some pretty nasty people.
Mm-hmm. And they refused to test the males in the house. Why? That's why this case needs to be taken away from Nick. I don't know how this can be done.
If I remember correctly, they refused to test the house at all.
Keith says, isn't a sock in one of the girls' underwear just completely gone despite them searching the entire area and as down the stream as much as possible? Correct.
Yeah.
That is correct.
It either went all the way down the street or someone's got them hanging up in their trophy cupboard.
I know that Libby made it clear to several people, one being Max Snowberger, that she did not feel comfortable being home with Mike Patty alone. That was a problem for her.
One thing I would say that we have to take that with a pinch of salt, because Libby was apparently looking for every excuse possible to get out of that house and get back to her mother. Of course, that works both ways. She might have been fibbing, or it might have been true, and that was the reason she wanted to get out.
I'm sorry. Radar, good point. Radar, good point. When law enforcement claimed family DNA on bodies would be normal, typical, etc., excuse me, in the vaginal area, what the hell? That excuse would not fly in any other murder trial. Can you imagine if they found dad or somebody else? Or
but
her
it was
brother?
the washing machine that put it there.
There's no way. There's no, because that literally in, what's the word I'm looking for? Common sense tells you that makes DNA stupid. That means we can't rely on DNA at all, simply because if you live in a household and your clothes are washed in the washing machine, you're going to obtain unidentified DNA on your body. And it could just mainly be your private parts, your inner thighs, in your vagina, on your breasts. What is come on, both girls? Seriously. That alone, that argument alone should have been pounded into the jury's heads. Like, are you serious right now? We have one girl naked. We have another girl who had to have been naked at some point and then redressed. Is that the excuse? Libby was being violated under her home roof, and then her clothes were put on Abby, so that DNA transferred in those same locations to Abby, including in her vagina? I mean, I hate to be vulgar, but I mean, come on. You got to be realistic. Unidentified male DNA. Unidentified hairs. Missing GPS. Wacky ass phone data. Something.
No photos of Libby whatsoever.
Right.
After that halfway stage on the road.
Carly Evan, the DNA was both internal and external. There was seminal fluid found inside both the girls. And you know what's so interesting is that at trial, the Indiana State Lab expert who testified never clarified if, well, she claimed that she couldn't get a DNA profile. So that means, I guess, she couldn't tell us if it was the same. But you would have to assume it's the same because it wasn't enough to get a profile. But if you go back and you watch Dr. Silkman's episode on the channel, he breaks it down as to the reasons where you would have male unidentified semen that was present. Well, if it was mixed DNA, you would think that. So Mixed DNA is even more complicated because you have to have a baseline of mixtures, and we don't have a lot of mixtures in this case. We have either Abby or Libby or unidentified. We have Rick Allen's DNA profile, which, if you compare his complete DNA profile to the unidentified male DNA, he's excluded.
Yep.
So we are missing a complete DNA profile for the unidentified male. We don't know how many male DNA swabs were sent to the Indiana State Lab. I'm assuming the defense team knows. I would imagine if we do know, based on what Anna Williams stated, is that they came in and they took all kinds of swabs from her family. Did they do that with the Patties? Because according to Kelsey, her DNA was taken like 5 times. Yet, it must have never been ran, because they still had this unidentified hair on Libby's or on Abby's finger that they didn't cross-check until right before trial. So they must not have ran the family's DNA. And that's why I wish, regardless to how Carrie Timmons feels, I know that Carrie believes, Libby's mother believes that they have the right guy. With the exception of that, I wish she would come out and talk to me about Libby, what Libby was feeling at that time, what Libby was expressing to her, because you know that a teenage girl is, who's wanting to leave where she's residing, leaving her friends, leaving her school, leaving her home structure. If she's wanting to move to Kentucky to live with her mom, she had to have given her mom reasons. It would just help us have more of a clear picture of what was going on with Libby at that time. And I understand if she's over it, if she feels like they've got the guy, case closed, she shut the door, she wants to move on with her life. But if she has any inkling at all that there's a possibility this case is not solved, I would love for her to come on and speak her mind. She can even tell me to fuck off, that, I'm completely off base for thinking that Rick Allen's not the guy. That's fine. I'll accept that. I mean, I'll give her any entitlement because she's due. The way that she was treated in this case, the way law enforcement treated her in this case is unacceptable. But I don't believe that Rick Allen is the right guy. And everything in this investigation covers up the truth. And I would like to know from Carrie what it is about this case and Nick McClelland's version of events that makes her believe that it is the right guy. Or is it simply easier to believe that he is so she can move on with her life? So, okay, so we've gone through these. So now we're going to move into, Quester has put together for us a document titled The Critical Period on February 13th, 2017. So Quester, you can take it away.
Oh, lucky me. Right. This is pretty much the same sheet that we put up before of the data sheets. But what it is it's separated out the sections that would appear to fit together, such as, for instance, Snapchat comes on, a photograph is taken, Snapchat comes off. They logically fit together. And that's been done with all of this as much as we can be certain. I've done that so that we can see what was really going on, because just saying Snapchat was in the foreground means absolutely nothing unless you know why. This sheet also contains new, shall we call it, technology that we have learnt from different areas. How things are working, why they're working, what has to happen for other things to work, things like that.
And I'm just going to jump in here really quick, and I'm just going to say this. This is a preliminary prelude to the work that we're doing behind the scenes on Snapchat. And the 205 bridge photo and the 207 photo. There are major indications. And the one thing that I'm going to cite that Quester has found is about the border, the white border around the photographs. We are trying to nail down what exactly those borders mean, whether they are time indicative or if they are camera roll indicative, meaning in 2017, February of 2017, Snapchat had protocols that they infiltrated with users of Snapchat. Meaning if you uploaded a photo on Snapchat and the photograph itself was uploaded for longer than 24 hours, it would then be given a white border. Or if a photo was uploaded outside of Snapchat, for example, from the camera roll, it would be given a white border. We are trying to nail down if, how, and the possibilities of these images being faked or uploaded from an alternative source. Because if you remember last week, we were talking about there being a third phone, a rogue phone, somebody else being with the girls, somebody else having access to the Snapchat account. We're homing in on that. So this document kind of incorporates a little bit of that. But if any of you out there listening have worked extensively in this area on Snapchat, and you have uncovered like factual information, I mean, we can chat GPT it, we can do all kinds of AI work on it that we want to, but AI is always topic driven based on how you ask the questions. I'm looking for, Quester's looking for factual information from real sources like Snapchat developers who can answer these questions for us on what Snapchat on an iPhone was capable of, or what their functionality was at that time. Because there's a lot to question here, but that's what we're going to go over right now. So this is kind of a prelude into that. So I'm sorry, Quester. I'm done talking.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
So as Amy was basically saying, this is a work in progress. We personally are at the moment of the belief that we got it nailed at 90%. However, believing that isn't enough. We need to know 100%. That's why we need an expert to come along, show us, explain, and prove. But from all the delving that we've done, what we've got here fits what we're being told, even by Apple. On on this on the screen we have this list. If we go to 12:56:20, which is the fourth one down. No, sorry, go 12:56:21, which is the fifth one down. It says camera app in use, location, blah, blah, blah. Now, the reason we know the camera app is in use is because of it's February 2017. This phone was an iPhone 6 and it was using iOS 12. Snapchat at the time would not have given that location unless the camera app was in use. As we go through this sheet, you'll notice camera app in use each time this location comes up, because Libby had all the other apps and so on turned off that could have done it. The only one that could do it was the camera app. Now this means if the camera app was being used, a photograph or a video was being taken. It then depends on why. If Snapchat is not open, then obviously she was not doing any of the different options you have with Snapchat. That means a photograph was just simply being taken. That photograph should be on the phone. 12:56:21, it is not. There is no data, nothing about a phone. That is the first one. We then come down to 12:56:50. Again, camera app in use. We get the location. They're still at home. Now this time we do have Snapchat in the foreground. So we can be nice and say, okay, she was Snapchatting, she took a pic, it didn't go on her story, it disappears after a little time. Fine. Now that can sometimes go into a phone memory file, sometimes it won't. So I'm erring on the safe side of caution by saying that's what happened, it just didn't go in. But we're left with the point that she's sitting at home Snapchatting with somebody. We don't know who. We can skip through all the messages to Anna Williams because we know what they are. They were chatting about Abby staying for lunch. If we come all the way down to 13:40:13, that's the next camera app in use. Now this is where, on the map we showed earlier, she was just coming out of the drive, next to her mailbox. Now we got that location, which means the camera app was in use. Again, there is absolutely nothing on her phone. So again, as Snapchat was in use, I'm erring on the side of caution saying, didn't go into story, she was Snapchatting with somebody. We come down to 13:40:55. Here we have another location. This is while they were driving along the 400 West, I think it was. Cameras in use. Snapchat still in foreground. So again, err on the side of caution. She's still Snapchatting with somebody. There's a lot of chatting she's doing on Snapchat with somebody just as she's leaving. Why? Who knows, but perhaps she's saying, I'm on my way. Now we then get a photo. Now the odd thing is, this is after Snapchat was in the foreground, but if we then say, well, fine, we'll ignore all that and we'll say this was the photograph that should have been in that camera app in use. And we look at it, that's the one where we've got Libby in the car, Abby in the back. For some reason, the picture is flipped. Odd. But let's ignore that as well. Driver not visible. We can't even see who's driving. Come down to 13:41:44. Camera in use, we have exactly the same thing. There's Libby in the car, joking. There's Abby in the back, wearing her grey hooded jacket. Remember, that's the one that Kelsey gave to her when they got to the Mears lot, remember? She's wearing it already. Odd that. So again, the picture has been reversed. Don't know why. Again, the driver is not visible. For some reason, all of these photographs, driver not visible. 13:41. Same again. (13:42:14). Again, we get a location. And this one, there is no photo that we can attach to it. So you're assuming she's back Snapchatting with somebody. Same again at 13:43:03. And then same again at 13:43:36. An awful lot of Snapchatting, chatting with somebody. Do you want to click the next bit up? Right, so now we've gone to 13:44:23. This time Snapchat isn't around. Camera's in use, we've got the location, so we know a photograph has been taken that should be going on the phone. It's not there. Totally disappeared. There's no sign of it even having been taken. Right. Now I'll read out the part in red. This series of locations with phones tends to confirm that Abby and Libby were still alive, and that the phone and they were travelling in a car towards a trail. I'll put in a note here that says that this would negate all the theories that they were killed earlier. Well, you know, all the stories about they were killed last night and kept in the fridge, etc., etc. Well, these photographs and so on do rather negate all those, so we can ignore those. However, we then have the problem with all those car movements that we discussed earlier. And we've already gone through those, so I won't read all of that out.
I will. I'll read it for you. This GPS location is 8 kilometers away from the Mears lot. At 30 miles per hour, it would take 8 minutes to get to the Mears lot. The white car that the state said belonged to Kelsey German was seen on the Hoosier Hardware Store camera at 1:48. 4 minutes after the above GPS location. To have got there in 4 minutes, Kelsey German would have had to have averaged 75 miles per hour and dropped Abby and Libby off without even stopping. The previous part of their journey was about 30 miles per hour. Why would Kelsey have suddenly doubled her speed just as she was entering far more winding, less wide roads? 75 miles per hour on those roads would be very dangerous. So either the white car on the Hoosier Hardware Store camera is not Kelsey German's, or the law enforcement times of the Hoosier Hardware Store camera are wrong, at least by 10 minutes out. But even then, if Kelsey German passed the Hoosier Hardware Store camera at 1:58, how could Abby and Libby be well down the trail at 1:51? These times are seriously amiss by GPS times and journey times. The phone in the car could not have GPSed on the trail at 1:51, and that would nor could anyone in the car with that phone. Boom, Quester, boom.
Yep. It doesn't work, does it?
It doesn't work. It does not work.
But the thing we have to remember is we have the phone that was found, and the girls in a car together. We don't know who's driving. We can't really tell what the car is, but we have them there. We now come down to 1351-22. Camera app in use again. Again, Snapchat is not around. So again, it looks pretty much like she's Snapchatting with somebody. We then get the camera being used again. This time, Snapchat's not in the foreground. Therefore, we're talking about a photograph. And guess what? No photograph, no sign of it on the phone, nothing. As per above, this phone couldn't have been on the trail at 1351. You remember, it's the same phone that's given all these locations. The one in the car is the same one that's on the trail, allegedly. So we know the earliest it could have got to Mears Lot is 1359. If you allow 4 minutes to get out and walk to this location, it will put them there. 4 minutes, I think I've got that wrong, typing a typo. But anyway, it's 4 minutes later, it just doesn't work out. So they're there at 1359, and Betsy Blair said she saw the young man at the north end of the bridge about 1355, 1358 approximately. So we've got the two girls and Betsy Blair must have bumped into each other, unless the two girls are hiding in the trees. Why would they do that? Can't see any reason. But somehow Betsy Blair managed to miss them. It then follows an awful lot of screen on, screen off, screen on, screen off, screen on, screen off, screen on, screen off, etc., and the battery is going down. Yeah, that could have been phones in your pocket and you're jumping around like a loony. Is setting off the screen. But if you go down that route, why are they jumping around like a loony? Were they checking to see if they've had a message? Possibly. An awful lot of checking every sort of 30 seconds, but fair enough, maybe girls do that. I don't know. We then come down to 1402, which is when Betsy Blair said she saw two girls on her way back to the intersection. Which is fine. 1402, she saw them. Apart from one thing. Do you remember when that photograph on the bridge is? 1405, wasn't it? Can you remember, Amy?
Yeah, it was 1405. It was 105. It was 105 and 10 seconds.
205. 205.
Yeah. Sorry, yes, 205.
Yeah.
But they were still back. The GPS was still back on the midway on the trail at 205:08.
That's right.
And then 2 seconds later, the phone was, yes. And then 2 seconds later, the image of the bridge. And we can dabble in the amount of meters of error, but you can't have it both ways.
Well,
we have
the location was 300 meters away from the bridge. You can dabble with these locations 5 meters. You still got 295 meters to try and dabble with. Doesn't work. Yeah,
correct. And why? Like I just feel like we have the bare bones of what is actually available on this phone data. Like they give us the bone to sink our teeth into on them leaving the patties and the first half of the route. Then they wipe it. Then they bounce them onto the trails to show us that they were there, not realizing that we were going to go this deep in depth in the time and the distance by accidentally giving us the 2 timestamps and GPS locations at 1:51. And then they effed up with the 2:05:08 GPS and then claiming the 2:05:10 photo and the 2:07, because remember, we are only given the 2:07 timestamp by law enforcement. There's no metadata, there's no photo on Snapchat or in the camera roll or in the phone extraction, in the cache, nowhere. That photo exists nowhere. So the 2:07 timestamp that we have for Abby on the bridge is based on Snapchat being in the foreground at that time. And it fit their narrative. And the even more bizarre thing is that for 7 years leading up to this trial, everyone and their mother was calling Photoshop on that particular photo of Abby. Everybody had a million questions, a million reasons to believe there was something wrong with that image. And lo and behold, we get to trial and we find out that photo is completely missing. What are the odds of that?
Just a coincidence. That's what it is. Just a coincidence.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Keep going.
Right. Where do we get to? Where do we get to?
We were at, let me see. I think that you're getting ready. So you're at the 2:07 and
Right.
also the Cecil 2024 deposition.
Right. So at 2:07, we have the phone in 2 different places. 300 meters away from the bridge and about 100 foot out on the bridge. Must be a pretty big phone. But anyway, here we are. It's on the bridge. The camera app is in use. Oh no, this is a 1407. We want the one before that.
Do I need to back up?
Yeah, if you can, please.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, I've checked the email, by the way, everyone. But where were we? Right, 1405. Camera app in use. And we have there, the phone has said a photograph was taken. Now, Ellie exhibited a picture and said, this is it. It's taken at platform 1, approximately 30 meters on the bridge. So that makes it 330 meters away from where the phone is. So obviously there's a massive zoom lens on it. Right. It couldn't be posted to Snapchat because Snapchat was locked and wasn't opened for another 2 minutes. The location data makes it impossible for the phone to have been there to take the picture. So we have this phone taking a picture and not doing anything with it. Now, this is the photo that we were talking about earlier, the one with the white border. And as some of you in the chat have recognized, a white border on Snapchat was used to indicate that the photo shared was from memories and was older than 24 hours. Reminding anyone who views it that it wasn't truly ephemeral. Now, this feature was removed, I think it was in April 2018, I think. Was it, Amy?
Yes, it was 2018.
Yeah. It was removed to encourage them to share older content without being distracted by that white border. But I'm not really interested in 2018 because this happened in 2017. At the time, that white border meant the photograph came from memories and was older than 24 hours. We therefore know that that picture that Ellie put in evidence was not the one that was taken. It was not taken at 2:05 by that phone. Now, if we can find that out, why couldn't their experts? Or did they? So we know the photograph they put into evidence is a fake. That leaves us the question.
That is, let's just clarify, that's our speculation. And if anybody has information to the contrary, please forward it to us so we can compare the information that we have.
Definitely. Yeah. If anyone's got any real solid data that can point either way, please send it, because we want to get to the truth. But I'll continue on the basis of that is a fake. Now, if that's a fake, it's not that photograph that we have all that metadata on. So we hit it again. Where is the real picture? This is picture number 4 that has disappeared. Do 4 pictures really just disappear off the face of the earth, taking all their metadata, all their photo data, the lot, just take it away? I don't think so. Especially as you can see at 14:07, thumbnail was created for this one. But it wasn't in the phone either. Extremely strange, this. We have a phone being in 2 places, taking a photograph that's not on there and that it couldn't take, and then producing a photograph that's 24 hours old. Stinks to me. You flick up the next one, Amy?
Huh?
Can you flick up the next page?
I sure can. There you go.
Oh, poor old Great Lakes is in a way by the looks of it. You go lie down, madam.
Oh, listen, she's got something for you, Quester. She already sent it to me, so I'll do it at the end of the stream. She's so funny.
It's probably something nasty. I have to put up a lot from that girl. I don't know. Right, where were we? Oh yeah, 14:07:20. Camera app in use again. Wow, here we go again. Location, put some halfway across the bridge. Perfect. Snapchat wasn't open, so nothing posted to that. Now this one is the one that Ellie said is the photograph of Abby crossing the bridge. Fits in perfectly with the data of the location. Absolutely perfect. Bear that in mind as we go on. However, we found that this picture that Ellie produced can't be found anywhere. It was found on the internet. They don't know when it was taken, what time it was taken. There's no data at all about it.
And
Not even on the. Go on, go ahead.
I said I even put a request out on the community page, and I think also on X, asking. I know that I've got the screenshot that we all seem to have, that it was shared. shows the picture of Abby on the bridge 7 hours ago. I have asked if anyone can physically produce a photo of any other timestamp other than 7 hours ago. I've had people say, oh, well, I seen one that said 4 hours ago. I have one that says 3 hours ago. And I've asked them to send it, and I've never gotten it. So I'm still stuck with why, in a high profile case like this, with, according to the fire department, according to the family, you know, we had people out there searching. The woods were lit up like a football field. We had neighbors upon neighbors coming out to help, hundreds of people searching with an abundance amount of light. And the only picture that we have of Abby that law enforcement wants us to believe is at 2:07 says from 7 hours ago. I want to see more screenshots of that Snapchat photo where it's depicting it was screenshotted at a different time. Earlier, later, I don't care. But we have not received one. That's all. Go ahead.
That's fine. Right. So we know, I'll stick my neck out again. This picture is bogus. Absolutely everything about it stinks. It's not the one taken at that time and place. So we've hit it again. Where is the real picture? Number 5 missing. Now, it worries me that we have a photograph that's disappeared off the face of the earth, and we know exactly when it was taken and where. And as I say, it's disappeared completely. But LE have shoehorned in a bogus photo into that precise time.
A photo that they got from third party online somewhere.
Yeah, and they shoved it in there. It covers up a missing picture. Nobody will ask where that real picture is. Sorry, bud, we just did. Where is it? What was it? You agree, Amy?
I do. Especially when we're dealing with the Bunner report and him saying that there were photographs of a man behind the girls on the trails prior to 2:13, which is before the video. The only time that you see a man behind Abby is in the video. You don't see it in any photograph that they posted. And we know that there was activity on the phone that was not included in Cecil's report or Bunner's report. That activity was left off because it didn't correlate with their timeline of events or factual photos that they could produce that they wanted us to see. It also aligns with Kay Weber claiming the FBI came all the way out to Arizona and provided her a photograph of a man on a bridge. She didn't say it was from a video, but they provided her with the photograph of a man on the bridge and asking her if she could identify him. And her answer was, how can I identify him when his face is covered up? Well, we know from the BG video, when you screenshot frames of that video, the man on the bridge behind Abby didn't appear to have a face covering. So where are all these missing photos?
And bear in mind that according to Cecil, which has an argument about whether he did or didn't say it, we're digging into that as well. But according to Cecil on that, there are 5 pictures he saw that have not been produced. How many have we found here so far? Oh gosh, 5. 5 missing pictures. We've got evidence here of 5 missing pictures.
That's based on each timestamp of the camera app being in use. There's nothing to do in the surrounding to take a photograph.
Yeah, and all the surrounding information showing that it was a photograph that was taken. Yes. Could you read the next bit, the Cecil deposition? I've got a fog in my throat at the moment.
Yep. The
Thank you.
Cecil 2024 deposition. I did not find any entry within the Snapchat databases indicating this image had been shared. That's coming from the Cecil deposition. I'll read it again. I did not find an entry within the Snapchat databases indicating the image had been shared. In addition, I failed to recover this still image. I don't know what was going on here. So there's a picture that was posted on Snapchat at 2:07, and it looks like it's Abby walking across the bridge. And I was looking for that picture, and the only reason why I know it's 2:07 is I'm going off what I'm finding in the news. Again, I wasn't getting a lot of information from the team on this. I'm going off of what someone has suggested happened. Again, I don't even know if it's true or not. I don't know. Haven't found it. I don't see an entry where that was even taken. Those were Cecil's words in his deposition. Let me read it again. I did not find an entry within the Snapchat databases indicating this image had been shared. Let that sink in. In addition, I failed to recover this still image. I don't know what was going on here. So there's a picture that was posted on Snapchat at 2:07, and it looks like it's Abby walking across the bridge. And I was looking for that picture. And the only reason why I know it's 2:07 is I'm going off what I'm finding in the news. Not an extraction, not the phone itself, not the camera roll, not the Snapchat cache, not the knowledge C. He's going off the news. Again, I wasn't getting a lot of information from the team on this. I'm going off of what someone has suggested happened. Again, I don't even know if it's true or not. I don't know. Haven't found it. I don't see an entry where that was even taken. That's why we're saying there was a third rogue phone with the girls that had access to that Snapchat account. And yes, if a separate device would have logged in to Snapchat, we should have some sort of an event in the phone extraction showing us that. But why would we have that if we don't even have the goddamn picture that they're claiming was taken at that time? And their own forensic phone data expert is telling us he has no freaking clue how that photograph came about. It's not in the phone. He couldn't find it. He's going off the news, which means the news got it from a third party screenshot from someone, AKA Kyle Smith, who had the photo that he shared that stated this photo was screenshotted and the photo was uploaded to Snapchat 7 hours ago, which from the time that he posted it doesn't put that photo being uploaded at 2:07. It shows that it was uploaded at after 3 p.m. if you want to get really technical, based on when he put that photograph on Facebook. Next, Cecil at trial. Let's see how his story changes. I'm referring to an uploaded still image to Snapchat depicting Abby Williams walking across the Monon High Bridge that I didn't find in the Snapchat database. I didn't find that picture on her device. Whose device? I didn't find that picture on her device. Who? Abby's device? Is that another slip of the tongue? Are we just supposed to infer that he meant Libby, just like the girls aren't answering their phones? the phones were pinging all over town. Libby had a rose gold iPhone, but she had a gray Galaxy colored phone that was found under Abby. That rectangular image in Abby's jacket pocket wasn't a phone. It was something else. What, a wallet? Was she carrying a wallet? What would she be carrying hiking on trails in her pocket of more importance than a cell phone if the girls are going out there to take pictures? I didn't find that picture on her device. So question, any explanation of why you didn't find that picture on her device, but you found the other pictures? Answer, I don't know. I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 226. Can you identify that, please? This is a picture that I found on the internet that depicts what I'm referring to. He found it on the internet. You know how Cecil is, brilliantly capable of searching the internet. Question, the date and time on that, was that on there when you found it, or did you put that on there? It was on there when I found it on the internet. Okay, thank you. And there's no date or timestamp on the original picture, correct? Yes. So you have no idea who put February 13th, 2007 on there, do you? No, just someone out in the wide web. Yes. All right. And you don't know when this picture was actually posted? No. Question, could someone else have posted it from her account from a different device? Could have. Okay. Was that photograph on LG's camera roll? Answer, not that I recall. Question, and is this the photograph of Abby Williams on the Monon High Bridge? Yes. So this is our thought. When a pic is taken on Snapchat and does not get put into a story, it's transient. It disappears after a few seconds of being looked at. It can sometimes still exist in a Snapchat cache or memories, but even then isn't accessible normally. And this pic wasn't found either. When a Snapchat pic is opened and a snap of it is taken, Snapchat sends a notification, a receipt to the original sender. There's no notifications in any of the extracted lists that shows that these photos were screenshotted by anyone viewing the photos, which seems odd, as Kyle Smith said he snapped and posted it on social media later. It clearly was on social media if Cecil truly found it there. So there should be a notification of Kyle Smith screenshotting it. Why would Liberty have given Kyle Smith access anyway? Do you guys see the conundrum with this? At every single level, from the camera roll to Snapchat, to the Snapchat cache, to the phone extraction, to the notifications of a screenshot, why all of it is missing during this very serious time frame? I mean, they cannot continue to get away with this. Okay, we're at 1409, Quester, the call from Ron Logan.
Right, I think most of us know all about the Ron Logan call. This was the one that they called the unknown number 3 phone. They got a nice tight latitude and longitude on it, funnily enough, when they in court said they couldn't do this sort of thing. And although it said radius approximately 3,000 to 5,400 yards, which is rather large, They also nailed it to the Wi-Fi location center point within 466 yards of Ron Logan's home. Now, 466 yards is the exact distance between Ron Logan's house and the crime scene, almost to the inch. Ellie also stated, quote, a call placed using Logan's cell phone produced cell tower data. This showed Logan's cell phone appears to be in or around his property, although his exact location cannot be confirmed. It's pretty well confirmed to me that he was in the area. If we then come down to 13-51, we all know what happened then, but do we? Camera app in use. Gives the location, because the camera app's in use, just off Prince William Road, Delphi. Weird. Do you want to read the Cecil intro because you're good at that?
I
Amy?
sure can. Yes, I can.
Thank you.
Cecil in trial. When the video initiated or started, where is the GPS location? Answer. The GPS location goes out near Delphi High School. He later changed that to the Memorial Park. Neither are, in fact, where the phone data says. So when the video starts, the GPS with the metadata, the latitude and longitude that's embedded into it immediately go out to where right around near the Delphi High School. Within 4 seconds, it comes back and it's on the trail and it has a 30-meter horizontal degree of accuracy within a circle. So it brings it back to the trail. So when it's recording a video, it initially goes out, likely capturing what's the tower data to try to pinpoint where it is on the trail. We're out in the middle of the woods, so it's utilizing the cell towers to kind of triangulate, determine where it is. But as the video is recording, it's like it actually utilizes the satellites to provide more accurate location of where the video really is. And utilizing the satellite causes it to use a little more power. So what's happening is when the camera is first being used, it's using something. It's low accuracy, so it's not wanting to use a whole lot of battery power. That is what Apple encourages its application developers to do. Try to not use a whole lot of battery power because we want our customers to be able to enjoy the product. Only Wi-Fi was at Ron Logan's or Weber's, both too far away. Longitude and latitude that it produces. Answer, longitude, latitude, and the elevation. Question, does it give you a range of accuracy when the video first starts? Answer, no. Question, and then within 4 seconds, the longitude and latitude changes? Answer, yes. Question, well, how do you know the girls didn't just go from here to here in 4 seconds? Answer, I would think that would be kind of impossible. Isn't that funny?
Didn't have to Google that.
Isn't that funny? In 4 seconds, they couldn't go from here to here because that would be impossible. But they can go from 205 in 8 seconds to over 300 meters away to 205 in 10 seconds and take a photo. That's not impossible. They can't have it both ways. They are feeding us what works for their narrative. And you gotta filter through the bullshit and the gray area to pull out the truth. And you gotta have people willing to attack it. The next round of attorneys, if this direct appeal doesn't go through, this post-conviction relief, they need to be headhunters and give zero fucks about what they're saying and prove the facts of this case for the sake of Abby and Libby and for the sake of Richard Allen. Okay, Quester, we are now down. Oh, you want me to? I can finish reading that down here below too.
Cecil deposition. Yeah.
Yep, another section of Cecil's deposition. He says, Snapchat. He's talking about Snapchat here. When it goes into the background, if you go to something else or you just close your phone, it's maintaining your last GPS location until you go in and interact with Snapchat again. If so, then the fact that here the last GPS position maintained is Prince William Road, Delphi. And the last time Liberty's Snapchat account was opened was apparently at 2:07. Would tend to suggest that the 2:07 Liberty's account was opened at Prince Street. Thus likely that Abby on Monon Highbridge picture was uploaded as Libby from there. However, it was prior claimed by Cecil that the data on Liberty's phone had at 2:13:51 a location close to the Delphi High School, which presented this 4-second. Interestingly, no reason was ever given for him changing this at trial. Coincidentally, Kyle Smith lived close to the Delphi High School, and coincidentally, Kyle Smith was the first person to say they screenshotted the supported Abby on the Monon Highbridge pic.
Lovely coincidence, isn't it?
Yeah, he was also the first to report that the search, roughly around 10:40 in the evening, the search had been canceled.
He was.
And Kelsey commented on his post saying she'll be out there with them first thing in the morning. She was already aware that at 10 something at night, the search had been canceled. Who cancels a search of 2 little girls missing 4 hours after they're reported missing? It's frustrating. Okay, so going on at the bottom, very bottom of the page in black. Cecil's 2024 deposition. Question. You noticed 3 fingerprints that were enabled in Touch ID. Is that correct? Answer. Yes. Question. 1 belonged to Abby? Yes. How do you know that? It said Abby. Question. But you didn't check to see if that was actually Abby's fingerprint? No. Question. And there's a designation for right and a designation for left? Answer. Right. Answer. No, I do not. So he went from yes to no, I don't know that. He didn't know the answer really to that question. Question. What is your understanding of what those are? Answer. I'm going to presume it means right finger, left finger. Which finger is that? I don't know. It could be their toe. I don't know. I'm presuming that's what it is. I'm presuming in a double murder case with 2 little girls, I'm just going to fucking presume. Question. Okay. And do you have any idea if both of those belong to Libby? Question. Presumably at least one does. He's so brilliant. Duh. One of them belonged to Libby. Well, I mean, yeah, because I didn't check. I'm presuming. Answer. It could. Question. But we don't really know, right? Answer. Could be that she's logging in with the password. I don't know. In Cecil's report, this is in the wall file, but his 2024 deposition said all the wall for the 13th was gone. How do you explain that? We are making shit up as we go. Phone data says the camera app initially requested reduced or low accuracy data. Video shows Abby on the Monon Highbridge with a man walking behind. Meaning Abby, had a burgundy shirt. gray hooded jacket, blue jeans, and tennis shoes. The man had on a dark blue jacket, blue jeans, and possibly a hood or a cap. There's audio of sniffling. Then a girl says, "There's no path." Bunner stated October 23rd of 2024, took screenshots and sent to them to investigators. Eldridge focused mostly on the Apple Health data, but did review the video. She agreed with the timestamp and the GPS location, but didn't examine it enough to know the location, if the location had moved to or from. So how could she agree of the GPS location? Phone geolocation can begin with a in the region of, then tightening it up. How? The phone was still locked at 20702. Quick Take feature only became available since the iPhone 11 in September of 2019. Found phone was on iPhone 6 in 2017. Couldn't take a video while it was locked. Cecil should have known that. So how did this phone hold a video that it couldn't have? And at 2:13:55, the time adjusted by Cecil's report with the location, longitude and latitude precision, 30 minutes south end of the Monon High Bridge, still nowhere near the distance between 1 and 2 locations of this video. Number 1, the female voice was calm and fairly quiet, saying, "See, there's no path there, so we have to go down here." 11 seconds before the bridge guy spoke. Average walking speed is 3.5-4 miles per hour, approximately 1.52 feet per second. So bridge guy was about 16 to 22 feet away and saying nothing. Then the female voice started talking. Bridge guy couldn't have instigated the idea of going down the hill, with the female voice had already decided to, while the bridge guy was 20 feet away and before Abby got there. The female voice was using the same whiny voice that Kelsey German used when talking to men, with that a family or trait. So why did the female voice say this? Presumably, whoever she was speaking to didn't know, and the female voice was leading that person. If the female voice was speaking to Abby, it probably was Abby's first time across. The speed Abby went past suggests Abby got off the Monon High Bridge very fast, as you might if you were scared of being on it. But see below. Starting a sentence with "see" is usually indicative of it being part of a response. Was the female voice in a convo with somebody else? We will probably never know, as the audio only started with the female voice speaking. Number 2, the video audio is running as the bridge guy arrives and stops after a male is saying "down the hill." We probably will never know if he said more. The phone isn't moving as if it's going to a pocket, so the bridge guy must have seen that phone. Why would he ignore a phone clearly photographing him if his aim was nefarious? There is absolutely no threatening tone in the male voice, and guys sounds more like the usual throwaway hello type. There was no sign of coercion in the female's voice either. I hear no other voice, male or female, nor see anyone else's shadow, feet, etc. But then we can't see what the female voice side, what's to the female voice's side or behind the phone. There appeared to be no one else on the Monon High Bridge in front of Abby, though. Number 3, the female voice started her "see, there's no" stuff 4 seconds before Abby got there, a good 8 feet away. The noise was pretty loud, so I doubt Abby could hear the female voice when the female voice started talking, just as we can't definitively discern what Abby, if it was Abby, said. But why would the female voice speak softly in that noise to a person 8 feet away? And that background noise certainly wasn't background. It certainly wasn't the wind either. It was a combustion engine, close, a deep, throaty sound. 4-stroke, not a car, not a motorbike, not a drone, not a plane, possibly an ATV. You can hear it changing, revving, but it sounds like it's not going fast. Quester?
Right. This next part is courtesy of Great Lakes. Thank you, Great Lakes. I was quite pleased with what you gave us there. I thought, put it in because it is relevant. Great Lakes said, one thing to note, it's the multiple instances of someone applying the gas. She's correct, there were. This is indicative of 3 possible things. 1, lots of turns on the trail. 2, going uphill. 3, a lack of traction. And she then gave us a link where you can actually listen to it. And yeah, it fits what she says. She's a good girl. Right. I've got to crawl to her because she's got something nasty come up for me. Right. Shorter bursts are most likely rounding corners. You slow as you approach, just easing off the throttle is enough. Then you turn your wheels and accelerate once lined up. The 2 bursts in the beginning might be reaching the top of an incline, rounding a corner or hitting a bump that caused the driver to ease on the throttle momentarily while being jostled. Yes. Fair coat. The longer ones indicate climbing elevation or a relatively straight shot without rapid decline or sharp turns. Gaps in the engine sound are likely part of these maneuvers. But when it ends about halfway through the video, it's clearly staying put somewhere. The second engine noise, around 25 seconds, she's not sure if it's a plane, I don't think it was, or a car in the distance on 300 North.
It's too
or
far.
Potentially, yeah, I would have thought so.
It's too far. It's too
Not
far.
too far. I'd agree. Or potentially the ATV idling nearby. That's more likely. The only reason I feel confident about the general direction of sound is because they're up at one of the highest points in the area, and getting any more precise is impossible with the topography naturally funneling sound. Notably, we do not hear any sound of colliding with water during any of the longer accelerations, so it wasn't crossing the creek. That's all. Yeah, I can agree with all of that. And to me, it does sound like an ATV playing around that area. Very, very close. And nobody has mentioned an ATV being right there ever. And nobody's mentioned any tracks of one right there ever.
And I have, you know, if you guys go to my playlist of the Delphi trip, where it has the video of us escaping Brad Weber's property. Now, if those who live in the area are aware of Kay Weber and she's somewhat of a snowbird. In the wintertime, she leaves, she goes somewhere warm like Arizona. And Brad at the time was either staying at her property or coming to check on her property. But if you watch the video of us leaving, escaping Weber's property, and we are taking the ATV trail out, there's a point in that video where April, who's driving my car, says, which way do we go? Do we go to the right or do we go to the left? Well, the right took us back out towards the main, towards Sandiford's house, which we end up going right back to where we entered the private drive by Liebert's property. I don't know where going right or going left would have taken us. that would have taken us towards, I know it would have taken us towards Ron Logan's property. So could an ATV have accessed that trail line from Logan's and made their way past Logan's, up the private drive to the south end of the bridge? That's one thing to think about. Knowing that nobody was at Brad Weber's property that day in the afternoon.
Well, that is debatable, because there have been suggestions that Brad Weber's brother was there, and they do have an ATV.
Well, it's all a possibility, but you can absolutely, and I have to shout out again on X, Charlie Murphy's X account. He has the links where he has isolated the sound from the BG video to make it very clearly heard what's going on, not only with who's speaking, but with the background noise. I've played it on here, but if you haven't heard it, go to Charlie Murphy's X account on X, and it should be pinned at the top of his timeline, or scroll down and you can find it. It's really clear. Okay, keep going.
Right, at 14:34, the recording ended. Well, that's a 43 seconds, so fine. But then a couple of seconds later, audio output route start time. The audio output has started up again. Any ideas what that audio output would be, Amy?
I have no idea.
No.
Because the video, I mean, that literally, so the video ends, and then 2 seconds later, we have this audio input as if a jack was inserted in the phone. Now we know, based on the video, that can't be caused by water damage or dirt or any Cecil Google search in a backroom forum giving us any explanation. We see Abby turn to go down the hill, and Libby cuts the video off. 2 seconds later, this audio input happens. This is another reason that reinforces that this phone is connected with another phone on the same account. That's just my opinion.
This audio output route continued for 6 minutes before it went off at 14:20:04. And it did this while it was locked, supposedly hidden in a pocket, and while both girls were under duress being forced down a hill. I'm not sure about you, but I don't think I'll be busy plugging things into my phone in my pocket while that's happening. Now, the battery is crashing like nobody's business at this time. And worked it out, the audio at most took 3%. Something took another 5%. But there's no explanation in the data what used that. So we've got the phone being used for something as well as that audio at that time. And no, we don't have any data on it. Very strange. Is there another page?
Nope, that's it.
That's it then.
So going forward, next week, you can bet your bottom dollar that Fungi will be here with her maps. And we're going to go deeper into the crime scene area, the trail leading from Ron Logan's property, more on the phone. I know that we've been over it 1,000 times, but there are still so many holes that we're trying to plug and fill and research. And if you have done any research on your own about Snapchat, and I'll just put it out there, the ability to fake a Snapchat photo, the ability to have you know what I'm saying. I mean, there's multiple issues with this photograph of Abby, and there's multiple issues with the bridge pic at 2:05 and 10 seconds. we're going to continue this week working on it. And Quester,
Yes.
Fungi is not letting you off the hook today, even though she's listening in duress and not feeling good. She says,
I'm
we have
sorry,
to
my
keep-
phone, my connection's breaking. I'm sorry. Hello?
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello, Questa?
Hello, I think I'm losing you.
Oh my gosh. She says she has to keep the tradition alive, whether she's on the stream or not. She says, oh boy.
I'm sorry, your connection is broken. Please try later.
She said, make sure Quester says the following. Are you ready?
Yes.
Pip, pip, cheerio. Look at the sloth go. And make sure you're saying sloth like David Attenborough, sloth. Thank you. So you have to,
this is what it said, properly British.
properly British, you have to say pip, pip, cheerio. Look at the sloth go.
Well, if it was properly British, it would be pip, pip, chaps, cheerio. Look at the sloth go.
Yay!
What?
That was perfect. No, that was perfect. Say that again.
You want it again?
Again, yes.
Pip, pip, chaps, cheerio. Look at the sloth go. What?
Oh, that's great. Fungi is probably rolling over in her bed. Oh my goodness. That was awesome. Well, thanks everybody for another great chat group. You guys are amazing. Love you all. I might be live later on tonight or tomorrow. I'm not sure, but Quester, I appreciate you and the hard work. And Fungi, I appreciate you. She says it's the greatest day of my life. I think that she's probably sick because she sent me a video last night that she was considering sleeping in the barn with the goat. So that might be her problem. I don't know if she was feeling bad because it was cold or what, but that might be part of her dilemma today. But guys, I truly appreciate you. We're going to keep up the fight and stay tuned for a live with Michael Osbrook, where he comes on and he dissects the appellate brief with us. I know he's also working with that on Defense Diaries. Kudos to them and their great legal minds. Love their channel. If you haven't watched any of their coverage on the Delphi case, please go do that. Criminality, give a shout out to her. Andy Kopsa, All Eyes, all of my people, all of the cranks. You guys are wonderful. We're here for the right reasons. And we will see you next time. Thank you, Quester. Thank you, chat. Like, share, and subscribe. See you guys later. Bye.
Cheerio.